Woodcraft, helping you make woodwork.
And if you're in a very hot, high humidity, you're going to want to treat a couple times, you know, every couple of years you're going to want to treat it again. So it's all about your environment mainly.
Kind of wax you to buff?
You can buff it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. You can buff any wax once it's dry. Yeah. But you change the sheen. The sheen is the shine. So if you want a satin and you start buffing it, you're going to end up with a semi-gloss or a high gloss. You know, that's why I don't buff it, because I'm in the world of satin. I like satin. It works best in the antique world to get the true look of that piece back in the day. So that's why I don't buff it, because I don't want to change that sheen. You don't have to buff it. It doesn't create any more strength than it already has. It's just a different look. It's just giving you a look. It will still be smooth. I put it on with a cotton towel, t-shirt or socks, or what. I try to stay away from socks because they get ballied. T-shirts are the best. But when you're putting it on with a towel by hand, you're smoothing it out by hand more than you are a chip brush. So there's a little bit less sanding in between coats. Mm-hmm.
When you're mixing colors of mixed paint, dry or wet?
Dry. Mix it dry.
The powder looks with the color you want.
Mm-hmm. Mix it dry, and then add your water. You can fine tune it after that. You can always add a little more pigment if you feel it's too thin. So once you've added your water and you think it's too red and you want to put a little black in it to make it a little more burgundy, you can do that. Just make sure that you mix it really good and give it that half hour to absorb all the pigment. The longer it takes you to get, the more you're adding pigment to water, the longer you need to let it sit and let it absorb all of those varieties of colors. But I would definitely. What color? Just curiosity. What color are you after?
What color are you trying to?
Well, there's a blue.
Blue.
There's the blue-green color over there, but I thought it was too dark. I wanted it lighter, so
Okay.
I wanted to add white to it.
Or a little yellow.
And well, that's an idea. But I was trying to use what I have at home.
Oh, what do you have?
I have the powder in the darker blue-green, and I have white in the already.
Try it. Yeah, because all you're doing is adding a little white.
So that's what I wanted to add the white to that.
Try it. Yeah, I'd try it. Sure. When you're trying to lighten something and when you're adding colors like that, it takes a very small amount of your light and dark shades. White and black are shades, they're not colors. So if you're trying to darken something, you want to use just a minute amount of black. It goes a long way. White, same concept. It doesn't go as far as the black, but it just takes a little bit of white to lighten something. It doesn't take a whole lot. And you might find that yellow gives you that more aged look than just white. That's why I said yellow. It's great for an aged look. Yeah. It's on sale. I had to throw that in there. But yeah, and you can mix all of the different colors with whatever, however you want. Just put the water in afterwards. So, anything else?
Did you talk about crackle?
We did talk a little bit about crackle. I can hit a little bit more on it if you'd like. The biggest thing about crackle is the paint dries really fast, and the thinner the coat, the more crackle. So if you're looking for a crackle, do very thin coats. Don't thin down your product with more water. What I mean by thin is use less paint on your brush and spread it down faster. You're gonna have to move faster because it will dry as you're going, but it will dry fast and shrink, and that creates the crackle. And if it's not the crackle you're looking for, they do make a specific and all it does is it dries even faster, and it creates a crackle because it shrinks. It all shrinks. So it's just the amount of time you're giving it to dry with the amount of product you're putting on it to dry it. So, and I have not used this crackle, but I do have a friend of mine that is really good at this world that uses that crackle once in a while. She's done it for me to mimic a piece that I rebuilt on an old cabinet that had crackled paint on it, and she did a fabulous job. And that's what she used, so I was very impressed with it. Yep. Do you guys all know Amy? Amy did my demo and I'm doing hers. So I had a nice conversation with Amy last night for a very long time. But I have used this paint a couple of times and I'm very impressed with it. In my world, I restore antiques, and a lot of times the inside of cabinets are painted and whatnot, and this is what I use, is this milk paint, because it's the only thing that mimics it. Everything else is too shiny or, you know, too new looking, and that's the big thing in my world. It just looks too new. So I use this powder, and she's the one that turned me on to that a couple of years ago, and it's very easy. It's very impressive to use. So, anything else? Did I get around it good enough? Did I kind of explain it? Is there, okay. Okay. At any time, you know, this pamphlet that I handed out, and if you didn't get one, please let me know and I'll have one printed up for you. It has some really good information in it to remind you of what we talked about. I read it last night and I was pretty impressed. It comes out of one of these magazines that we have coming out, the Woodcraft magazine, I think. And it's a really good source of information to rely back on if you need to, you know, a year or so goes by and you can't quite remember it all. It's very good thing to put in the file cabinet. Real quick, just want to look over my notes and make sure I got everything, and to think I did. Foam brushes are terrible to use with this paint. Don't use foam brushes. I could say, you know, that doesn't work great, but it doesn't work good at all, so just don't. I know it. Yeah. Yeah. Bristle brush is so much better.
And don't prime them.
Yeah. No. Did you prime it?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah. What kind of primer did you use?
The Zissner's primer that they say not to use.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't bond to it real well.
No, it didn't. It was
Uh-uh.
a huge mess. I was kind of angry.
Yeah. And did they tell you in the instructions? I honestly have never read the instructions.
I didn't know that until I came up here and bought a bag of that. Because I thought, oh, there's milk paint. I've never done that before. Well, I'm painting. I'll prime first.
Yeah,
So I primed
which is
it all up.
your normal thing to think of. Yeah.
I brought that home and opened it up, and one of the things it says is they don't recommend using that.
Yeah. You can if you scuff it real well and you come back with the bonder. The bonder is what allows the paint to adhere to the existing finish. Without the bonder, wrong one, sorry. Oh, I had the crackle one or the bonder one. Without the bonder, it won't adhere at all. This creates the bond between the two surfaces. So yeah, I'm not much of an instruction woman, so I kind of bypass instructions.
Piece that I'm working on, and it's been finished before. May I I have sanded it, but I did not strip it. I have sanded it. Do I need to use the binder? Or
Yeah, any finish, whether it's a clear coat or a painted finish, you have to bind it to get it to adhere the first coat. After the first coat, you don't have to bind it again. So, you know, mix very small quantity, and 2 to 1, 2 parts paint already mixed up to 1 part bonder. They call it a bonder. In my world, it's a binder. Back in the day, it's like a base coat, clear coat. If it's kind of an automotive term, but today all of our sheen is in our color, and we only have to put things on one time. Back in the day, they'd put on the base coat, which is your milk paint, and then they'd come back with a clear coat, which would be your wax or whatever finish you want to put on top. So it's very much that base coat, clear coat thing, but you definitely have to use the bonder.
You put on like block base, clear coats like polyacrylic.
You can put any clear coat you want on. They recommend this wax for the look. if you're antiquing and you're aging and you're trying to have that look of yesterday, they want, the best way to get that look is to use the product of that time. All of these polyurethanes and lacquers and all these things, these are modern day clear coats, and you'll get a modern day clear coat finish look. If you're looking for an antique back in the day finish, use the products they used back then. That's really the only way to accomplish that. So, and that's why I'm pushing the wax. That's what they would have used, either wax or boiled oil, boiled linseed oil, or tung oil. So, yeah, which are all rub-on finishes that you maintain, that you keep adding every year. So, and that's what they used to do. So.
Maybe if I put wax in with mineral spirits, get a better finish.
Yeah, it's so much easier to use wax when you cut it with mineral spirits. You can use denatured alcohol too. I mean, if you've got some denatured alcohol, that works just as good, probably a little bit better than mineral spirits.
Yeah, that's what they should do.
Yeah, we just didn't have a can of it back there, so I just grabbed the mineral spirits. But I use denatured alcohol.
Brush that on.
Yeah, or rub it. I rub it.
Yeah.
I like to rub it, but you can brush it. It's all about. And when you're antiquing, so your corners and everything, you don't want them perfect. They want to be full of product and take longer to dry and look like it's a little candy coated in those areas, because there would be buildup over the last 100 years, and that's the look that you're trying to accomplish. So you don't have to be a perfectionist. You're the least amount of a perfectionist in this world than you are painting your house or your bathrooms and cabinets and things like that. Yeah, we don't want you to be perfect here. Make mistakes.
Will shellac work on it too?
Shellac is very much a product from back in the day, but they say the chip shellac, the dried shellac, is better than the pre-made shellac. So, and again, that's opinion, but I would agree with that, because the chip shellac is more of the shellac of back in the day than the pre-made shellac that you open the can. Yeah. So, but shellac is a very good product. It's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. So, they used to boil it back then to get their strength. The longer it boiled, the stronger it would get. So, yep. Anything else, Nick? Anything else? Yeah?
One more question. Would it be possible to use, I have a piece I have finished with the synthetic milk, and then,
That may not be the proper word, synthetic. That was just one I pulled out of a hat. Yeah, the mixed. Yeah.
and what did I put over the top of it? I put polyacrylic matte finish over the top. I put wax on top of that. A colored wax.
Yeah, you can. You can put wax over the top of any finish. To change the color, you mean?
Well, just to add a little.
Tweak it a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, wax will go over any finish. Wax will go over anything. Yeah, and when it dries, it's a very, it's a good strong finish. It's not like it's gonna, you're gonna have to maintain it monthly by any means. If you're in a hot room all the time, you'll probably have to recoat it every couple of years, but yeah. But it's easy stuff to use, it's easy to maintain, and the best part about it is you can come back and do it again and not have to prep and go through all this refinishing stuff. It's just a maintenance thing. So, but it'll go over anything. You might want to scuff it a little bit first. I'm a big person on scuffing. I scuff everything. So 320, 220, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you got in the garage. Yeah. Cool. Well then, this has concluded our session of milk paint.
Very good.